Welcome to chapter number 13, and this is, as you can see, it's about leadership across cultures. And before we get into the leadership part, let's talk about management and leadership, the difference between managers and leaders. And as you can see, management is about these things right here. Right here, planning, budgeting, organizing, staffing. So most of these, as you can see, as you're reading this, that these things can be learned, right? And I'll come to another interesting point in a little bit about, um, AI and other things as well. But if you look at the leadership over here, it's setting directions. So what does that mean? That means you have to understand a bigger landscape and see what is good for you, your company, and what is it that we need to stay away from. So have a vision. So kind of be able to scan what's around you and pick what makes more sense. And then align people to that, motivate them, and change business for the better. Okay. Also, like if a company is doing really good, then you need actually more of these qualities because you want to continue. You want the company to continue to do better. But if the company is not doing that well, so this type makes more sense. All right. So this is actually, these slides are also in the additional resources, course content, additional resources. And I'd mentioned these in the previous slides, previous lectures. If you go back to the first ones, chapters 1, 2, I mentioned this. So let me talk about the AI aspect of this. So here. As you can see, and again, as I mentioned in the previous, I think it's chapter 1 or 2, I did mention AI quite a bit. But here I just want to remind you that many of the things machines can do. So the management aspect could be taken over by machines. So look at this. This is the machine advantage right here, which is control planning, all kinds of things that can be put into an algorithm. Okay. Versus intuition, implementations, interaction, emotional skills, you need leaders. And also, if you go to like supermarket, you'll notice that there are lots of cashiers have gone away and you have self-checkout machines. And let's say there are like 15, 20 machines, and then you have one person that is helping. And that is typically a good cashier or somebody that is smart and intelligent and knows how to operate the system. And typically you'll see that it's usually a sort of a middle-aged to a younger person because they are better at technology. So that's where the world is going. The management positions won't be as many because one manager, because of the AI tools, can manage more people. So initially, let's say the manager was managing 10 people, but the planning, budgeting, controlling, all those functions, there are AI tools. And also it is actually put on the employee. So the employee has to fill out the reports and all of that. And then there is a machine that actually generates a report as to how the employee is doing. So the employee has to do work as well as there's a machine. So which means that there is less work for the manager. Okay. What does that mean? That there will be fewer management positions and actually more leadership positions because you need people that actually can motivate other people, can talk to them, can understand them, things like that. So in this chapter, we'll look at different leadership styles. So I just wanted to kind of give you some idea about the difference between managers and AI, managers and leaders, and how AI would change things in future. By the way, you could go back to these slides. They're under additional resources to be able to see that. All right, so let's come to this chapter, leadership across cultures. So every concept about leadership applies, and now there is the added dimension of culture to it. We already kind of talked about this, and as I mentioned, see, my goal is to give you things that are beyond the book. You know, you guys are all smart and intelligent. You could always read what is in the textbook, but I want to tell you something beyond this. And so I'm going to tell you about what I believe the type of leadership skills, and that's multidimensional leadership. And we'll talk more about that. So let's look at these two theories, theory X and Y. So this is basically you are assuming that people are lazy and they need threats, they need to be told what to do, and unless you force them to do something, they are not going to do it. Is that true? Well, it is certainly true for certain people. Okay, not true for all of the people. And again, when you look at these theories, when you look at these concepts, don't think that there is, one that is the best, the awesome. It's actually, you have to use like a combination of things to be more effective. Um, the theory Y is like people, are hardworking and they want challenges and responsibility. So this is like the polar opposite of that. And certainly there are people that actually are like that work hard and, self-starters, motivators. And then there are people that need, are kind of like lazy and they need to be threatened or coerced into doing things. So there are all kinds of people. So you need to deal with the situation, and also depending upon the situation, people could behave differently. Okay? So to understand the people, the situation, and what the goal is. Sometimes, when you have a deadline, you may have to say, hey, I would love to get your input, but we have to do this by this date. So you have to give direct commands. So, and then there is theory Z, which is believes that workers seek opportunities to participate in management and are motivated by teamwork and responsibility. So theory Z is also kind of closer to theory Y. X is sort of where people need to be threatened and coerced. Y is they are hardworking, they're responsible. And Z is kind of going further along with that they seek opportunities and want to participate. So in sum, this is a good way of looking at it. All of these do provide useful insights, and depending upon the situation, you could use one or the other or a combination. Thanks. Authoritarian is you tell people what to do. And this is basically if you're assuming that people are lazy, which is from theory X, you probably want to tell people what to do. Again, as I mentioned, if there's a deadline and there is a fixed way to do things, you may have to be authoritarian leadership style. Paternalistic leadership style is, like a parent, and it's more like work-centered. You get the job done, you'll be taken care of. And usually good, works better in collectivistic cultures. And again, don't just think that it works only in these type of cultures. It could work depending upon situation in variety of situations or companies as well. And participative is both centered on the work as well as people. And this seems to be more popular. And as people are, becoming more independent, they want to provide input as to how things need to be done. So it's getting more popular, especially in advanced countries and even in developing countries. So here is a sort of a grid, and as you can see, this is where there is not much focus on work or people. You're just leaving people alone, kind of thing. This is where there is, as you can see, this is the emphasis. This side is more on the task. Okay, here it is more on the people. And if this style would be good if you are it's an assembly line operation, something like that, where the job needs to be done. Job doesn't change much. All you have to do is focus on getting things done. So naturally in that setting, assembly line, factory, things like that, or even warehouse, people are kind of like doing jobs with repetitive jobs or the same jobs where there's not much creativity involved. Then this type of management style is good. Focus more on work. This would be better for like creative work, innovative work, where there's more about people relationship, and where task is sort of the deadline, or things are kind of flexible. And this is kind of like best of both the worlds, where you are getting input from people, so you care about people as well as you care about getting the job done in a particular time frame. So as you can see, autocratic is 9-1, which is right here, which is you're telling people this is where theory X also would be. And paternalistic style is somewhere over here. It is 9. So paternalistic style would be over here. And participative is over here. Okay. Now so there was a study done on different groups, high achievers, and so high achievement, motivation under different leadership style. And also I want to point out that this study was done in 1977. I'm not diminishing the importance of the study, but what I'm saying is be careful, because things, especially after late 90s, things have changed as when technology has improved. See, the reason things are changing is before technology, information was not readily available, and things were not as complicated. Now there is an explosion of knowledge, there is explosion of information, so it's not practical for one person to be able to keep track of everything. So it's better to delegate things, it's better to decentralize. So after the late 90s, things have actually changed quite a bit. So that's why I'm saying, be a little careful, but doesn't mean dismiss it completely, but be mindful that this study was done, look at this, almost 50 years ago. We're in 2021 and this is 71. So be mindful of that. So here is the participative leadership style, basically, which is the most effective one. And the 1-1 style, which is this one, is the least effective, which could be expected, right? Because people are highly motivated, so they want to have input in the process. And then this was the low achievement motivation group. And this also surprising, they actually changed some of the things over here. So, the solid lines and the dotted lines are not the same as from the previous one. So this is more about the high task and low people. Why? Because, these people are not that motivated. So you are focusing more on the task. People are not motivated. So that provided better results. And the lowest one was where there is less focus on task and high focus on people. So people are not already motivated. So you're focusing on them, and naturally not going to get good results. So again, as I said, this is an interesting study, but it was done quite a while back. So you got to be mindful of that as well. And some of you may be wondering, if textbook has so many studies that were done a while back, why are we using that textbook? Yeah, that is a valid question. And that is kind of the reality of this day and age. Like, researchers, like, I also send out surveys, but the response rate is very low. Most people get bombarded, especially because it's very easy to send surveys out to people. All you do is, just send out emails, which cost nothing. People get bombarded with different surveys, and they are at least less likely to provide input. So that's why these days, unless you get like thousands of people responding, studies are not considered valid. Okay, so that's why we have to lean on the older studies. And I'm not saying completely dismiss it. I'm saying that there is value in it, but at the same time realize that this was done quite a while back, and you need to be mindful of where the world is now. So then we look at leadership in international context. Is it different? And if you look at, again, by the way, as I keep mentioning this, I'm giving you a few key points. You're smart enough to read most of the things. So as you go, the countries were divided into different clusters. And the gist of it is, doesn't matter which cluster you look at, participative leadership, which is focusing on people as well as job, seems to be doing better. And then there are some differences, country differences are there as well. So this is an example that I had given previously, which is what is the best way to become a millionaire? And the best way is to what? To copy a millionaire, copy somebody who's successful. So let's say if you go or you are in an international environment, try to find out who is more successful and try to see what it is that they do that is a source of their success, and copy that or make them your mentors and learn from them. The Japanese leadership style is interesting. They don't give too much, tell you exactly what to do. They kind of leave it ambiguous and open, so people kind of figure things out, or they come up with different options and possibilities. So that is something they call it variety amplification. And in the US, it's more about telling you what to do, what not to do, and the kind of narrowing the focus to the important things. Okay. So some could argue that this amplification wastes time, or some could argue that it generates alternative that you may not have thought of. Okay. So the argument would flip over here is like, this is very efficient, but at the same time, you don't really see what else could be out there. Leadership in China, and again, China, we think about it as collectivist society, Confucianism, but the new generations, the managers are changing and they're scoring low on these. So again, if you were to, this is an amazing thing, the whole world, and I highly encourage you to travel. You'll notice that people have information to lots of stuff, and people are turning into very similar everywhere in the world. I'm not saying they're becoming identical, but they're the way they think, that they want to be part of things. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to be, they want to participate in things. More of the democratic values are actually becoming more and more popular. Leadership styles in Middle East. So as you can see that there is a tendency leaning towards participative leadership style also, okay? Although it used to be the older ones was more about, authoritative and telling people what to do, but the younger middle management is more about participative leadership, okay? Leadership in India, again, participative approach works pretty good. Latin America, Mexico, a combination of authoritarian and participative behavior. And again, sometimes you have to think from the culture point of view. Under certain cultures, if you ask people for input, they might start thinking that you don't know anything, and that's why you're asking them. So you got to be mindful of that. Versus some other cultures, it is considered welcoming, or it is considered that you care about people, that's why you want their input. Versus some culture, people think that you don't know, that's why you want to know, you want their input. So, and again, we are coming up with different leadership style. Transformation is you are changing, or you're motivating people to be bigger than themselves, to go for higher goals. Charismatic is usually politicians. Bill Clinton comes to mind, Barack Obama comes to mind. Again, Some people might even say Trump is a charismatic leader too. So it's up to you, whoever you are, influenced by. Okay, I wouldn't put George Bush as a charismatic leader. Most people wouldn't. Um, so charismatic is, it's you follow the person because of the way they talk, the way they present themselves, kind of like that. Transactional is, there's a task, you do the task, you get rewarded. Then Bass, a researcher, he came up with these 4 I's, and then based on that, he listed these different types. This is based basically on rewards, and this is actively, people are, like the managers, sorry, are actively involved in the operations, where this is passive, and this is, it's more of a hands-off approach. So what are the qualities? Again, the survey was done. So we, if you go to the book, but the survey was done some time ago. So many of the qualities, again, you have to question some of them. Okay. See, this is a good example. British manager, was posted to Nigeria and found out that if you raise your voice for important issue, he was successful. Versus in shouting in Malaysia did not work. Okay, so here, this is actually a good time for me to tell you about the Sears repairman story. So the type of leadership style that I want you to think about is multidimensional. What do I mean by multidimensional? Multidimensional is, I want you to think in terms of different qualities in you. You could be sometimes authoritative, you could be sometimes transformational, you could be sometimes charismatic. It just depends upon the situation. So let me tell you a story of the Sears repairman. So this is a while back, my washing machine was not working and it was under contract from Sears. Okay, guess what? The Sears repairman comes, he has his tool belt and he pulls out his screwdriver, opens up the machine, does something, doesn't work. So he goes back to his truck and then brings a bigger toolbox, pulls out some Allen keys and all that, starts opening some more things, does some more changes, tries, doesn't work, goes to his truck again, starts replacing some of the parts, doesn't work, goes back, calls his buddy on the phone or somebody, goes to the warehouse, picks up another part, comes back, boom, the machine works. Okay, the moral of the story, I never saw him once complain or whine or scream at the machine. Again, this might sound like weird or stupid or crazy. But I like to give examples that will, stay in your mind so you will understand. What was he doing at each and every point? He was looking at what is there, and he was using the tools that he had, okay, to see what to do. Okay, sometimes he was using the multimeter to check the voltages were right or not. So similarly, we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Okay, so observe things, listen, and then talk, meaning then the action comes in. Okay, so it's 20%, 20%, and you could, sort of, feel. He was also touching and feeling. He was also doing other thing, smelling the machine too. So let's say, it's only 20% that he was actually doing, but the rest of 80% of the time, he was actually paying attention to what's happening around or what's happening to the machine, and then using different tools. So same thing, instead of thinking about, and again, sometimes people have this tendency to come up with the all-encompassing theory that, okay, this is the biggest theory of all, and this is the best, and once you do this, you're going to get the results. But the reality is, think in terms of rainbow. There are so many colors, so that's how there are so many different types of people. Some people work better if you threaten them. Some people work better if you leave them alone and you just give them whatever tools are necessary. They'll do it. Okay. Some people are in between. So if you want to be a good leader, understand the situation, observe the situation, understand, and then talk. I mean, then take action. Okay. And there's another one that I'll tell you in the other video too. So basically the moral of the story is no one style will work in every context. Doesn't matter, even culture, even you, like you guys have Thanksgiving dinner, even your own family members are so different and not the same style would work. Okay. So, but if you were to understand what it is that people are looking for, you would be able to do, or you would be able to lead them much better than you just say, hey, I'm going to do this, and that's how it's going to be. It might work for authoritative, meaning depending upon the task as well. All right, so cross-cultural, so globe, which was the study, the research, and we found that these, the leadership qualities can be summarized under these different qualities. And based on these, we do come across how gender makes a difference, like female prefer more participative leadership styles, team-oriented styles, and different races. Again, race adds another dimension to it too. So, positive organizational scholarship is providing a good or environment that to help people be more productive. Authentic leadership. This is actually becoming more and more popular, where people are like, be more authentic, be more this and that. Yes and no, depending upon you. There are some times where you don't want people under you to know everything about the plans of the company. So you cannot be disclosing certain things, right? Authentic also doesn't mean that you're telling them everything. It means that you are actually acting based on internal forces rather than external rewards. Okay. Um, so it's a good style, and as I mentioned, like be multidimensional. You have to take qualities from different leadership styles, and then there's the difference between transformational and authentic leadership, charismatic and authentic leadership. Uh, it's fairly easy to read these things. And then there is, because of all the scandals and all that, there's emphasis on ethics as well. And then there is the servant leadership style. And this is, you are putting the needs of your people before you. Okay. Like there are some books like Leaders Eat Last and things like that. Yes, you have to look at the context. You cannot use one leadership style everywhere. So just like I gave you the example of Sears repair person, similarly, you have to observe, you have to listen, then you have to act. And also I've mentioned this, ask and not assume, right? Sorry, I'm not using PG-13 language, but this is to help you understand that, there are certain things work better. Okay, and you'll not go wrong if you ask people, asked you what it is that you're looking for. And sometimes in collectivist cultures, you may have to, or you're dealing with people that are at a lower level where they are not used to being asked their opinion. So you have to prime the pump a little bit. Like you have to start sharing some of the things yourself. Like you could say, hey, I'm looking at this, and you've been working here for 10 years, so you probably know more about this machine or this process than anybody, and you seem to have been here the longest. So we would love to hear what is it that we could do to make this easier for you, more efficient for you. So, and entrepreneurial leadership, which is, you have to be creative, innovative, opportunity seeking to make your company grow. And entrepreneurial leadership is actually great for startup companies or companies that are looking to change. All right, so that's it for this, this topic. And this time I'm going to do something different about the password. I'm just going to give you the password. So it is this, the password is learn, and instead of A, it is @ So L is capital E at the rate R and N. So some of you were probably wondering, when is he going to give the words for the password? So, and sometimes you need to change things up. So that's what I wanted to show you, that you cannot be doing the same thing every time. Mix things up. Anyway, so quick recap. There is no one leadership style that is the best, or that is the perfect, or that will work everywhere. Look around you, your friends, your family, everybody's different, and in some way they are similar too. So you have to find out what is the commonality that would bring people together, and at the same time, what are the differences that you could use to help them be more productive, as well as help your company be more productive as well. And start thinking more in terms of how AI is going to make managers more efficient. So the managers that cannot use the artificial intelligence tools, AI is artificial intelligence tools, they might, or they are almost likely to be left behind. So start thinking in terms of what are the tools. If you are currently a manager looking to become a manager, what are the tools that are going to make you more efficient? Because future, just like I gave you the example of cashiers, a lot of cashier jobs are gone. I mean, there are other jobs that are generated, but a smart cashier, smart, intelligent one is the one that is manning 10, 15, 20 machines. Why? Because they can do better. Similarly, management positions are also going to go away because one manager will be able to take care of or handle multiple managers. All right. So thank you for watching this, and see you in future videos. All right, bye. So I clicked on something and it messed up something. So bear with me while I try to figure out how to shut this down. Yes.